Nova Scotia. With more than 7,000 kilometers of spectacular shoreline, nearly surrounded by the waters of the North Atlantic. Set apart from the North American continent, it is Canada's ocean playground. The coastlines here have it all.
Perhaps more shipwrecks per mile of coastline than any other North American place.
World-famous fossil beds, holding clues to the earliest evolution of human civilization.
The Bay of Fundy has the highest tides in the world and really carve out the landscape here.
Historic shorelines that would be a gateway for thousands of immigrants to the New World.
When it came over in 1773, if you can imagine, 189 people on this, sleeping on this, living on this. Some of them died on it as well.
And the majestic highlands of the Americas.
I do believe that Gaelic language is my birthright and that of everybody that comes from this tradition.
Now we explore this rugged coastline like never before. A bird's eye view, unlocking the secrets of our maritime past, present, and future. This is Canada, over the edge. As we venture further from mainland Nova Scotia to Cape Breton Island, we begin our approach to the Canso Causeway. For more than 50 years, the causeway has connected the island to the world. Each year, hundreds of thousands of vehicles cross here. A man-made link built out of 10 million tons of rock, 1.3 kilometers long. But in many ways, the island is a world unto its own. Surrounded by ocean, Cape Breton is built around one of the world's largest saltwater lakes. More than 1,000 square kilometers of brackish waters sheltered inland from the fierce Atlantic. A body of water the French named Bras d'Or. It is one of the most culturally rich regions of the province. The translation of Nova Scotia to New Scotland can best be understood here, in the heartland of the region's Gaelic roots. It is a legacy that dates back to the late 18th century, when a wave of immigration from the Scottish Highlands brought Nova Scotia's first immigrant ship to the New World.
We're standing on a replica of the Hector. When it came over in 1773, it came over with 189 settlers. That was the first ship directly to start the massive emigration flow from Scotland to Canada. But that opened a floodgate, a whole wave of emigration from England, from Scotland, from Ireland, and they not only settled in Nova Scotia, but then from Nova Scotia moved on, settled the rest of Canada, and settled throughout North America. For all intents and purposes, the Hector is Canada's Mayflower. And if you can imagine the size of this boat, I mean, this is an original replica. It's 110 feet long, it's about 22 feet wide, 189 people on this, sleeping on this for 11 weeks, living on this, so actually some of them died on it as well. Most of the people that came on the Hector spoke Gaelic. A lot of the settlers, when they landed in Pictou, then moved on to other parts of Nova Scotia, and quite a few of them moved up to Cape Breton, where the Gaelic language, the whole Gaelic culture is probably as strong, if not stronger there, than it is in some parts of Scotland.
Today, the descendants of those original Gaelic settlers still thrive. Their traditions, like the milling frolic, a social gathering where neighbors help each other prepare wool to be sewn, live on.
Here we have a milling frolic, gatherings, people get together to sing songs. Historically, people would soak the blanket in a mordant solution that would fix the fibers in the wool and fix the dyes so they wouldn't change so much afterwards. Kind of a pre-shrinking process. People are hitting the blanket on the table to the beat of the song. There's 4 beats in a line, and they beat the blanket in time to the music. This is one of the Gaelic performances that has remained intact and very much goes back to a time when people got together in communities to help each other perform different work processes. And in Gaelic people would spend their whole day in the presence of song or involved in song, because song was a part of work. And whether you're working by yourself or working in groups, there was always songs to go with that particular work process with a rhythm that matched the rhythm of that work. Cape Breton Island alone saw some 25,000 immigrants from Gaelic Scotland. They followed a pattern of migration they call chain migration, where people from one island sought out other people from that island when they came to Cape Breton, to the New World. So they brought with them and they transplanted their localized traditions, their dialects, their song tradition, their dance repertoire, their song repertoire. They transplanted all of that whole and intact to that little community in Nova Scotia, and it continued here.
From the interior coastline of the Bredor Lakes back to the Atlantic, we venture along one of the largest water systems in Nova Scotia. The famous Margaree River extends from the Cape Breton Highlands to the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Draining an area of more than 1,300 square kilometers. Fishing enthusiasts gather here from all over the world, drawn to the rich fishing grounds created by the salmon that return each year to spawn upstream. While Mi'kmaq natives hunted and fished here for centuries, it was the French who first named the river St. Marguerite in the 18th century. Scottish settlers would arrive a century later, and the region would become Marguerite. In the lowlands, the shelter of the valleys provides some of Cape Breton's richest agricultural lands and deciduous forests that produce the world-famous fall colors. Miles from the nearest road, on the northeast branch of the river, short rapids and deep pools run alongside small islands. Further on, the hillsides slowly rise. Twisting and turning north, the river follows a course that reveals the geographic history of this region. Its path, the Aspy Fault Line, a spot where two continental plates likely collided more than 400 million years ago, pushing the seafloor upwards and creating the Appalachian Mountains we see today. Today, it is not just the social traditions that survive. Some see Gaelic as the future. The old language, now used by just a few hundred native speakers, is seeing a resurgence with younger generations.
My name's Joanne McIntyre, and I teach Gaelic at Dalbury Academy. Smisha Ausak Nichentid is Hami Chechas Gaelic ag Scalt Dalbury. The reason I feel that Gaelic is important to be taught to kids is it's a part of who they are, it's a part of who we are. But I do believe that this language is my birthright and that of everybody that comes from this tradition. It's something that was taken from us. It's a window into the past. It's a way to access, there's literature and there's a vast song corpus in this culture, and those songs were the people's way of telling their people's history as opposed to what the scholars wrote or the observers wrote. There are still people living today that were born into this culture and language, and this is their first language, and that to me means that it's still alive and going. And now there is a resurgence of interest. So it's all that, and it's growing up in an environment where I heard Gaelic all the time. My father spoke it. I didn't understand what he was saying, but you're always a little bit curious. It sounds different. It sounds musical. It sounds like growing up. It sounds like home.
As we continue through the Gaelic heartland of the region, the steep-sided valleys continue to grow. We are now in the final leg of our journey. As we approach the world-famous Cape Breton Highlands, and finally, the sea. Heading east across open water, the cliff faces recede and we return closer to civilization. Along the way, we explore one of Nova Scotia's many unique geographical features as we take a bird's eye view of Bird Island. Barely visible from shore, tourists travel here by boat to get a glimpse of the seals, eagles, and bird species that make this their home. Further east, the former mining towns around Point Coney still survive. These outposts once relied on the surrounding coal fields for survival. Now, it is the unique beauty of this region that is their story to the world. From bustling cities to mudflats, highlands, and crashing waves, the story of Nova Scotia appropriately ends here at the Point Coney Lighthouse. A light has shone here since 1874, more than 10 miles out to sea, warning approaching ships of the rocky shoals along the formidable coastline that is Nova Scotia.